Now it's time to talk money. Donald Trump is set to become the first sitting US president to have his signature on banknotes, the Treasury Department announced. Trump's signature will appear alongside that of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on the $100 bill when it is printed in June, a move the department said will be a fitting tribute to America's 250th anniversary. American currency, dollar bills, Benjamins, whatever you may call them, have played a role in culture and society now for decades.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
That's Michael Douglas's Greed is Good character, Gordon Gekko, in the film Wall Street. For more on the cultural significance of the US dollar, let's talk to Tricia Rose, author and professor at Brown University in the United States. Thanks so much, Professor Rose, for being with us on The World Tonight. How would you sum up the cultural significance of the dollar?
Well, the dollar in the U.S. has changed in its meaning rather dramatically since the 1970s. I mean, Gordon Gekko's phrase, the reason it was so resonant, it was that after the 1970s, the tremendous deregulation, the expansion of the financial industry really changed the meaning and purpose of money. Now, of course, money was always ambiguously valuable, right? It was for good things, for bad things. You wouldn't have all this capital without slavery. But at the same time, the American dream, the modest dreams of how we'd use money to help our communities and get our kids a better education and maybe even buy a home. Those were sort of modest, reasonable, kind of morally acceptable forms of money gathering, right? That you would gather money for this larger common good. That shifts dramatically in the cultural arena with the film that you just played a clip from. And it only gets more and more disconnected from the idea that it's for money for anything but money's own sake. So money becomes the means and the ends.
We're having a debate in this country at the moment over plans to replace some of our famous historical figures with animals on the notes because we're told they will be much more difficult to forge and fake that paper money. In the US, famously Harriet Tubman, who would in her time have been traded for money as a slave, ended up on banknotes in the United States. The president's signature, what is the kind of cultural resonance of that, do you think?
Well, that depends on your politics dramatically, right? Some people are probably very excited about it if they're interested in him. But for me, it's a principle matter. It's not really just about him in particular, who I think is doing this for reasons that feel a bit crass and a bit excessive. But I think that what's getting connected here is that any single president can become the sort of equation of what equals democracy in American society. So even though the very policies that are driving his own agendas appear to be reducing the democratic power of everyday citizens, right? It's not for the people, by the people in the Gettysburg Address. It's really for Trump and by Trump, right?
But it's in that context, it's really interesting, the 250th anniversary year of the Declaration of Independence, isn't it? A declaration that was about a system of powers that, when the Constitution was eventually developed, would be one of checks and balances. Now we're once again in an age when we have been here before, to be fair to American history, where we talk about the imperial presidency, or the president as the most powerful institution of government. And there, as a statement of that, is the president's signature right on the currency.
Yeah. I mean, I think really the way I would think about this one act of this currency is the same way I would think about what happens in the 1980s. The more you deregulate, the more you destroy checks and balances, the more you see the consolidation of wealth and power for its own purpose. And that's always dangerous for a democracy. It doesn't really matter which president you're into, right? That's a core problem, it seems to me, no matter what.
In the last 30 seconds or so, do you think paper money still matters as much in the United States as it ever did?
No, I mean, I think it's decreasing in value because you can't use it anywhere. And so I think not being able to use it easily is becoming a problem for lots of kinds of reasons. We don't have time to get into it, but I think it's a really big issue that it is reducing in physical value and exchange meaning and value for purchases.
Professor Tricia Rose at Brown University, thank you so much for being with us here on The World Tonight.